From Tripoli, I had to move to seaside, Sabrata, where I'll cross. I actually tried to cross October 1st, 2016. That experience was a very ugly experience. During the journey on the high sea, the Mediterranean Sea, I discovered that the boat that we entered was having a leakage. So from there, that leakage, where the boat stopped, was no longer moving. We spent close to more than 3 hours on the sea. Everybody, you see women crying, you see the children crying, and at the end of the day, some were praying, the Muslims praying, the Christians praying. Then the police, the Libya police, they came to rescue us. They arrested us on that very occasion. I went to the prison. I spent more than 3 months in the prison. So from there, I called my family. They were able to raise money to release me. Well, finally, how I came back to Nigeria, I tried to cross again. So crossing again, I was actually arrested again. And I was taken to Gerian. There's a prison called Gerian. Irregular migration is not worth it. And people, they think that out there the pasture is green, and it's not true. At times when you experience these things, you are not, some persons, they experience these things, they are not normal, they are not the same again. So it's not good for other people to experience what we've experienced.
The Osun-Osogbo Sacred Grove in Osogbo, Osun State, southwest Nigeria, is one of the last remnants of primary high forest in southern Nigeria. The site, a natural habitat that has been preserved for over 400 years, has served as both a pilgrim point as well as a tourist center for millions of people who visit the site annually to worship and celebrate the Osun goddess that is believed to inhabit the river that runs through the grove, giving the water the ability to heal and grant wishes of its believers.
Osun Grove happened to be a site that we all refer to as a living site. It is a living site just because activities that have been carried out over the years are still performed the way it used to be then. And secondly, it is a site where the worshippers do come to perform every 5th of the day, which means 5 days. They do come. For example, in churches, we go to churches during the week, but on Sunday, we christen it to be, we go to church on Sunday. Likewise, the Muslim goes to mosque on Friday. So despite the fact that the devotees do come interval, but they have a 5 day, which they call Ojose. Aside this, the uniqueness of this site is the name Osogbo was derived from this site. The appellation of the king was derived from this site.
From the entrance, one could feel the tranquility that comes with the well-preserved forest. A little further down comes another feeling of an elevated being's dwellings. This is the Osun-Osogbo Sacred Grove, one of the last sacred forests in Nigeria, along the banks of the Osun River, just outside the city of Osogbo, Osun State, southwest Nigeria. In this forest of 75 hectares of undisturbed areas of land, no residential building is allowed, no killing of any kind of animal, no fishing, no hunting or felling of trees.
Apart the fact that it is 75 hectares of the core zone and 47 hectares of the buffer zone. It's one of its kind in sub-Saharan Africa and the second UNESCO World Heritage Site in Nigeria. The kind of people or crowd that comes around, one will be marveled why this. But it is a festival and a river that people believes in. Because of the sacredness, you can't cut a tree, you can't fish. And if you are not a devotee, there are certain activities you don't do so that you don't blame yourself.
The one path that cuts right through the grove is lined on either sides with sanctuaries, illustrations of traditional Yoruba deities and primary high forest. Adekunle Olatunji is the curator and site manager of the grove that has existed for over 4 centuries. On a tour of the sacred forest, Olatunji describes how the name Oshogbo came about and what the grove stands for.
At Ipoleumu, some kilometers from here is in Iboku. There's an hunter. It's not just an hunter that going to the bush to kill rats. It's a big hunter that hunts for elephants, bigger animals. In one of his sojourn, then from Ipoleumu looking for where they can get water, they now got to this site. On getting to this site, he was astounded. We were looking for almost a 40 kilometers from here, looking for water, still large water here. So he decided to go back to inform the king. My brother, we are hunting, I got to his place and I saw this river. So the hunter then was Oguntimei, while the king then at Ipoleumu is Laroye. So the two of them came down to the site, seeing what they wanted. So they decided to settle down at the bank of the river. So in one of their trying to rent the tent, a tree now fell into the river. And a voice came out of the river saying, Enyoma darling, you have broken my time, but 84 koku. So everybody the two of them were so shocked. Who is this person? Simultaneously, the spirit now answered, Oshogbo pele, Oshogbo rora, Oshogbo pele, Oshogbo. That was when they knew they are in Oshogbo. Literally meaning Oshogbo. So now, they now felt, what is the next thing to do? In Yoruba then, something strange happened. You do divination. During their divination, they wanted to know what's happening. So the Babalawo now said, Osun dwell here. You cannot stay with Osun. So they moved from the bank of the river, moved up. They now built a hut. That hut today is what we call the first palace. And there's these promises between them that we said we should leave this place. As a powerful person, they felt, how will somebody in the river be telling us to leave? So if we are to leave, what will you do for us? And I said, okay, if you are to leave, I will make you prosper. There is no war that will conquer you. Do my bidding, and every year there must be somebody from your lineage to come and bring object of appeasement to me every year.
But the grove wasn't always this beautiful and serene. In fact, there was a time it was completely infested with termites until an Austrian artist, Susan Wenger, and her husband Uli Bayer arrived to save the sacred monument. Wenger devoted some 50 years of her life to preserving the forest, and with the help of local craftsmen in the city, she transformed the sacred grove into a sculptural garden with compelling artworks and objects of habitation. Because of them, this 200 acres is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
When Mama started with the Osun Groves, she started at the area we called Ayedakun. Ayedakun is also part of the groves. Our first 2 sculptures are still there, where we have Obatala and Yemo. And she did that, not in one place, at the main shrine, Ebu Yamako, and inside the forest there are the sculptures there that she made. And Mama would do the heart with meditating, like communication with the deity before doing any form of art. And Mama got her inspiration, from there, because she stayed there for a while.
She was invited to come and see or assist us in treating this termite attack. In doing that, she now fell in love with the culture. So she is so powerful and mystic that if she sleeps, revelations of what she is expected to do for this place will come to her. Then she now felt, for somebody of her status, there's a need for her to have people to work with. Then she now got in touch with the Oba. Then there and then some interested indigenous that were into art then were introduced to her. So that was why they formed what we call a new sacred art movement. With this new sacred art movement, from instruction from her, that's why we have all these structures.
Shaded by a canopy of trees, with a flight of stone leading downwards, the inner grove lies within a natural depression, marking the exact spot where the first palace of the founder of Osogbo was located. The ancient palace with its ornate pillars and elegant designs has remained in its original state for decades, and its sacredness upheld for as long as it stands. A short walk away from the palace will take you to the Osun River, which on a normal day looks just like any other river except for the utter stillness that pervades the atmosphere around it and the occasional calving in the midst of its waters. Otherwise called the Herbs of Osun, because according to its devotees, this calm flowing river transcends ordinary water. Everything about the Osun Grove revolves around this river. It's like the life of this place. You take it away, the entire place becomes lifeless. This is where the history of the grove actually started from. And every year, thousands of devotees of the Osun goddess converge by the bank of this river, where they pray, believing that all of their problems will be solved by the goddess.
If it is just a mere river, why the crowd? If it is just a mere river, why are people taking this water? I'm using this water in context because here we don't have river, we don't have water. Please, we don't have water. Once you are here, you want agbo, apps. People that needed one thing or the other comes here to seek for assistance from Osun goddess. Believing, as I said, it's your faith. Believing he or she will do it for them. Whatever is being taken here is apps, is agbo. If you take it with your faith, be you me, you'll be healed. It has been proven beyond reasonable doubt.
While the grove is the site of Osun's most sacred shrine, many Yoruba deities are also depicted here with sculptures that are centuries old and shrines where their devotees worship. Despite the sanctity attached to it, managing the grove is not without its own challenges.
There's no lumber that will come into this site that will not pray will sleep off 72 hours. So that before we wake up, we would have cut down all the trees. We do have poachers, and despite the native laws that we do use to operate, because here you are not supposed to hunt. If you are caught, you'll be taken to the enforcement agency through the authority of Osogbo. And because of developmental pressure, as the town grows, you are bound to see people wanting to build closer to the site, thereby giving you problem. You have the challenge, but God is helping us through that native law. That native law, don't cut, don't fish. And aside that, the native law, I will tell you authoritatively, because if all of us goes home, we have night security if they are here. If you eventually decide that you want to catch any fish, you will cook it from now till that kingdom come, it will not done. So you will definitely put yourself into trouble.
Once sparkling and clear and home to a variety of fish, today the sacred river is murky and brown. It is now under constant threat from pollution from waste disposal and other human activities. Another fascinating thing about the grove is the standalone suspended bridge right at the heart of the forest and just above the Osun River, built some 87 years ago. The bridge has no pillar holding it because they say the Oshun goddess forbids it. One of the unique things to see at the Grove is this suspension bridge. We understand it was built in 1935, commissioned in 1936, and the reason why the bridge was constructed was to enable people around here move goods now, especially palm products, from one end of the bridge to the other. And up till this day, the bridge is standing. It's one bridge a lot of tourists who come to this area love to see. Despite the gradual fading away of celebrated African culture and tradition, the Osun-Osogbo Sacred Grove is one cultural phenomenon that has not only stood the test of time, but also become a reference point for people from this part of the world. The grove remains more or less pristine, leaving visitors with this sense of peace and a connection to the dwellings of an elevated being and the ancient Yoruba tradition.
Hello and welcome to the newsroom. Here are the stories we're following at this time. As a race for the principal positions in the 10th National Assembly heats up, the governor of Ebonyi State, Dave Umahi, has called on the ruling All Progressives Congress APC to ensure a zoning process that would bring about balance and equity. Umahi was recently elected to represent Ebonyi South Senatorial District in the Senate and is believed to be eyeing the Senate President post, made the declaration to correspondents after a meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari at the presidential villa in Abuja. According to him, zoning of the leadership positions will endanger equity and balance of power among the geopolitical zones of the country. Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Mahmoud Yakubu, and the National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Monguno, have urged political parties and their supporters to shun violence in the March 18 governorship and House of Assembly polls. Speaking on Tuesday during the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, Yakubu implored political parties, candidates and their supporters to see the election as a contest, not war, while thanking security agencies for their professionalism of their personnel and the largely peaceful conduct of the presidential election. He said INEC state offices have provided the police with the details of the governorship and state assembly elections, including locations of polling units and collation centers. Still on electoral matters, INEC has denied appointing Femi Odubuyi, a former commissioner in Lagos State, as head of its Information and Communications Technology Department. But a judge, former deputy chairman of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, had alleged that the former commissioner is the new head of ICT at INEC. Judge had called on Mahmoud Yakubu, INEC chairman, to remove Odubuyi because of his closeness to Bola Tinubu, the president-elect. China's economic activities picked up in the first 2 months of 2023 as consumption and infrastructure investment drove recovery from pandemic disruption, despite challenges of weak global demand and a persistent downturn in the property sector. China's abandonment of COVID-19 controls late in 2022 has reinvigorated an $18 trillion economy that has suffered one of its lowest growth rates in nearly half a century, with analysts expecting momentum to improve further in coming months. The Ghana International Petroleum Authority says the country has implemented regulatory measures, including the removal of fuel subsidy, to ensure stability across the downstream sector. Abdul Hamid, Chief Executive Officer of NPA, spoke during a presentation at the ongoing Africa Refiners and Distributors Week 2023 in Cape Town, South Africa. He said the measures were implemented in response to the global oil and gas market volatility caused by the Russian-Ukraine war and energy transition-related policies. On the foreign scene, a Russian fighter jet on Tuesday dumped fuel on an American drone over the Black Sea and then collided with it, causing the drone to crash, the U.S. military has said, slamming the maneuver as reckless. U.S. European Command said two Russian Su-27 fighters intercepted the unmanned MQN Reaper over international waters and one clipped its propeller. Moscow denied causing the crash of the drone, which the Pentagon said was on a routine ISR mission. Reigning African table tennis champion Quadri Aruna will on Thursday battle teenage Japanese star Tomikazu Arimoto in the round of 16 of the men's singles at the 2023 WTT Singapore Smash. The 33-year-old Nigerian lost 11-8 in the first set but fought back in the second set to draw level, winning 11-8. Quadri, who is yet to record any win against Arimoto after losing twice against him, hopes to end his winless run against the Japanese. And that's it on the newsroom. To join us at the top of the hour for more stories. I am Folashade Ogurinde. Bye for now.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the President of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa forest.
On TV360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
TV360, dissecting the issues.
Nigeria's constitution, like America's,
begins with a simple and profound idea: we the people.
And during this election, you, the people of Nigeria, have a chance to make your voices heard, to choose your future.
The United States does not support any individual candidate for office.
But we strongly support a peaceful election
that reflects the will of the people of Nigeria.
Because free and fair elections in Nigeria help create a freer and fairer world for everyone.
Your vote matters. This election matters, not only to Nigerians, but to the rest of the world.
We're invested in your success. Our shared democratic futures depend on it.
Go to inecnigeria.org to prepare to vote, because your voice matters.
The Nigerian people have a friend and partner in the United States of America.
was nominated as the chairman of Grantmanship by the college management in 2018. And what is Grantmanship? Grantmanship is sourcing for grants for the development of the college. So our first outing, we want to create awareness among the staffs on what is grantmanship, and therefore invited 2 speakers. Professor Idachapa from Confident University and Dr. Dabasaki from Ford Foundation. Along the line, he told us that they don't give grants and that they have specific area, and that is area of art. For years, you know, those in the art, in the School of Art, they have been dreaming of having something like this, but it is a matter of money. There's no money backing, nothing. So, but when he was now asking us, he talked to us about the policy, said, okay, we'll look into that. He said, okay, so if you are coming because they are interested in art, why don't we join it with an exhibition on sexual harassment? He said, that's all right. But he now told us that that one will not fetch us much. That, okay, the college, since inception of the college, 1947, we have Department of Art. Later, it metamorphoses into School of Art. Do we have a collection center for all the arts? We said no. We said, well, what if you have a mini museum? We said, okay, that's a great idea. And now asked us to go and write proposal. So we left that place. So we rub mind, we write, we send to him, did some correction, he sent it back to us. But along the line, we found out that we cannot do it alone because we are science-based. So we need somebody that is fast in art. And that was how Dr. Rimolade came in. And the 3 of us, we wrote the proposal, he helped us fine-tune it, and that was how we get the grant of $100,000 for this project. But like I said, it is not this project alone. So 3 projects. This is the major one. Then we have the exhibition and we have the policy. So on the 25th of November this year, that is when we launched the 3.
Initially, we were just looking at a program where we address sexual harassment in the college, but by extension, we were able to get a museum out of the whole project. And the museum was launched on the 25th of November 2020.
What I could start with is that we were dealing with an abandoned space, and we had to deal with a lot of forces of the elements, which obviously we've won this part. The fight continues, and our museum is in the basement space. The basement space takes more than half of the lower part of the building, so it's a large, very large space. The purpose of the space in itself, aside from the display space that you already have been through, the museum actually has 3 components, where we have the display place for the works that we've put up, and then we also have a research and repository section. This section is supposed to deal with future research. A lot of writing, of course, is going to start happening, and keeping a log of information. We've been here, the school has been here for such a long time, and it has so many relationships with so many artists in the city, and we want to begin to document them. So it becomes a space where anyone that is looking for information, primary information, not just things that you find online, things that these artists probably would keep or lose, like how you would go through Dali's foundation now and find notebooks and things. Those are the kind of things that the museum is going to gather for research purposes. We're starting to work towards having our conservatory and preservation section. It's a restoration section, which works perfectly for us because our faculty has already for several years been running programs on methods and materials, and under methods and materials there's a section for preservation and conservation of art. So it's not a full-fledged course here. It's not even a full-fledged course anywhere close to us. So hopefully it would be filling a huge gap, not just for our community, but for artists and art collectors around us. We hope it becomes a service point moving forward.
Very happy about this because, like you have rightly said, that I've been here for a decade. Yeah, you see, we have Yusuf Gilo Gallery, and coming now to have Yaba Art Museum is very, very good. And we have to thank God for the people that sponsor the Ford Foundation for that, for this achievement. We thank God. And you see, this Yaba Art Museum is the first in all higher institutions in Nigeria, the first and in the higher institutions in Nigeria. As we all know, Yaba Art School is still the best. So we are coming again as the best to produce the largest art museum in any higher institution in this country.
For years, those in the School of Art, they have been dreaming of having something like this. But it is a matter of money. There's no money backing, nothing. So, but when he was now asking us, he talked to us about the policy, said, okay, we'll look into that. He said, okay, so if you are coming because they are interested in art, why don't we join it with an exhibition on sexual harassment? We said, that's all right. But he now told us that one will not fetch us much. That, okay, the college, since inception of the college, 1947, we have Department of Art. Later, it metamorphoses into School of Art. Do we have a collection center for all the arts? We said no. He said, well, what if you have a mini museum? I said, okay, that's a great idea. Now asked us to go and write proposal. So we left that place. So we rub mind, we write, we sent to him. He did some correction, he sent it back to us. But along the line, we found out that we cannot do it alone because we are science-based. So we need somebody that is fast in art. And that was how Dr. Rimolade came in. And the three of us, we wrote the proposal. He helped us to fine-tune it. And that was how we get the grant of $100,000 for this project. But like I said, it is not this project alone. So, 3 projects. This is the major one. Then we have the exhibition and we have the policy. So on the 25th of November this year, that is when we launch.
In this part of the world, when it comes to art school, I think Yaba Art School has been on for over 70 years, and that's quite a record. And with that, which means that her seats are all over the place globally, right? So when it comes to adding to the content of what we have in here, in fact, we're just starting, right? Because we have a lot of people, alumni outside there that are willing, to actually have donate to this particular, museum, right? And so, like I told you earlier on, constantly, we'll be having this, enriching the collection. So, because like I told you, what we have, some of, students' works, lecturers, as well as supporters out there, right? If there's anything we are aiming at, it's, because we know what is happening outside there, and this is what we are ready to give locally. Now, come to the artifacts that are out there. Why do we travel out there to see those works? It's because of the way they've been packaged, and that is where, because you have a lot of, information about those things, those works, where they are, and when you see some of the promotions about them, you want to see them, right? So if there's anything, there's a question you ask whether we are ready for it. I want to say here in Yaba College of Technology, we are even ready, right? In the sense that the kind of space we have, the kind of packaging we are ready to give works in our collection, certainly it will compete favorably with what you have outside there. Because the fear, as far as I'm concerned, regarding our artifacts out there is it's because people troop out there to look at them because of the way they've been presented, the way they've been packaged, right? And if such works are eventually repatriated, how are we sure that we want to, because what they've done, that has added value to them. Once they bring it out there, if we are not careful, right, knowing the Nigerian thing, we might decide that we might discover that those works will lose their value, right? So it's now the onus is on us to see what we can do to actually up the game regarding packaging, adding value to that. And I want to tell you, people want to, wherever they are, they want to come down here to see those works, because whether you like it or not, the venue most times makes the event, right? So it's about where do you have the work. You don't just repatriate them and just put them somewhere where nobody cares for them, right? So these are the things we are ready to do in Yaba Art Museum. And as you can see, we're just starting. You ain't seen nothing yet.
Essentially, the role of museum is so very important to every household, to community, to the city, the country, and the world at large. The museum is a point where you keep the treasures, the family treasures, the community treasures, the institutional treasure, and then the state treasure, national treasure, and also at the international level, these treasures are exchanged through collaboration so that other people on the side of the globe can see what is happening at the other side. But most importantly, the museum provides a historical documentation of the evolution of a people, how they reasoned some time ago, how they were able to advance technologically and the rest of it. It can be read from the artifacts and the works that are available.
Museum is not a profit-making institution, so to say. museum documents history, documents culture. And because this one is situated within the academic environment, it's a place where students can learn from the past works of other students that have left the place over a period of time. Because if you look at the works here, they are from different departments and they carry different philosophies and ideas which the students could actually tap into. The museum gives what I'll call academic visibility to the school. It opens avenue for people to come in, to look at what we have done and also to collaborate with us and see how we have been able over the years to document the history of our environment.
The museum in itself, aside from serving the aesthetic purposes that people come to see, the hope is that it would serve not just for art lovers, because that's just one perspective of looking at art. Artists can be very, very interdisciplinary, and we're actually a technological institution, so we have different faculties and learners that can relate to the works, either through history, through its methodology, through the happenings at the times of the works that were created. There are different connection points that can come through education, of the art piece. It's not just the pretty picture.
The role of the museum is also to educate, apart from charting a history for people, is to educate you, and it's also going to give records of those objects that made history, and then by extension those who did them. And you'll find that now that you have this museum here, it's already attracting economic business environment, which is the characteristics of every museum anywhere in the whole world. There is going to be coffee shop somewhere, and there will be where people can have their snacks, where people can sit down, and there will be postcards made from some of the artifacts here, some souvenirs that people can pick, and most importantly, you'll find that when the culture of the museum is built, everybody around becomes aware, and then the import of keeping what we have is also being taught indirectly, so that everybody will know that things that you have, even your old man, your grandfather's agbada, for instance, dresses, their shoes, and that you say, oh, this is old school, you trash it. You don't throw anything away. These are things that can speak for that community. And that is what the museum, the role, the positioning here is going to play.
It's not just a place where works are gathered. Mind you, we're not just gathering works here for gathering's sake. Because what is very important is for the fact that for every work we have in this collection, certainly the data of each of those works, that is the artist, the year it is made, the materials, and what the content and materials of each of the works are well documented. So So it's not just about having the works alone and for people to come around and see alone. No, no, no. This is going to be like more or less a research center, you know, as you have, you know, in other climes, such as Smithsonian and other institutions like that, whereby if you're interested in, you know, researching about a particular artist, you know, you can always come here and, you know, you can have all that you can data regarding the work, the artist, everything about the artist we are actually gathering here, we have here. So it's not just going to be a place where you just have the works alone. No, 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 no. Everything concerning the artist and its art, then, which means that for historians, you know, for, you know, researchers, you know, it's a place to be, right? So because it's going to compete favorably with other institutions, you know, museum around the world. That is our dream. And with the fact that we're also being supported by Ford Foundation, I think that is also a plus, because once we have such a foundation backing us, I think you want to know that, I want to believe that it's not just going to be a local thing, it's going to be a global, you know, one, whereby everything, you know, that has to do with art, especially staff and students in Yaba College Technology, you know, can be assessed.
This museum has a lot of importance to the environment, and all the students and everybody, we are all gearing up to embrace this. And at the national level, you find that one role museum plays is that immediately people arrive somewhere, they say, please, I would like to see this, I would like to see that. So it becomes a cultural destination. And I think that's another cultural tourism. There's a lot of potential that institution of a museum like this will generate once it kicks off fully.
About art is that it finds its way to insinuate itself into every single aspect of what you do, consciously or unconsciously. So it's very strange to say you want to cut art out of anything. Even when you want to write about cutting it out, you need the artist to help you do that. But then when you talk about sponsorship or support, I think the first thing I should say, this is a federal institution, and we've been so fortunate with the rector that we currently have in the institution. There's nothing you want to do, particularly in these times. If you don't have political will, nothing is going to happen. But then the rector has championed the cause with so much energy and supported it at every turn. So I think that is a positive thing, because he works for the government.
Most of the work say that some of them, they are unknown. You see, you know how many years back, I've been lecturing over 20 years ago. And where we are sitting down, here we have Lara Ige. She is based in London, and we have a lot of lecturers here that are based in America that they sent in their works. Though for those that we cannot, you know, we cannot pick up their names, we will send for them and say, who their classmates. We will look for their classmates that can identify the owner of the works. So that's why we are still working. You see, it's still new. We are still working, asking, who is the owner of this? You see, like my classmate here, I finished from this place, and my classmates here, I have their works. I could be able to say, this is so person's work. You see, and you know, a lot has happened concerning these works that we are presenting here, because they are asking us. Some are still bringing their works, but as time goes on, I think we'll improve on all those things.
When you look at the Benin bronze, the Ife terracotta, the Igboku, and the Nok culture, you are able to now say, okay, at this point in time, you mean there were Nigerians that reasoned and did this work. And so you can use that to project a roadmap and development of a country. Unfortunately, we haven't seen this in Nigeria. The museum that was built during the colonial era is just there. At some point in time, people are even referring to it as a mortuary, because in a typical African society, the museum, the family museum, for instance, on yearly basis is refreshed. And that is where you have the festivals. And when you have the festival, you find that the artifacts or the collection or the achievement for that particular year is deposited at the museum. And that is building history. And so when you look at all these artifacts, you are able to record the number of years. You are able to talk about dynasties. You are able to talk about at what times what happened. And that helps people to be able to come out with a growth pattern that will inform you to plan even for the future.
Talking about support, we're very grateful to Ford Foundation for the support so far, and we're looking to support from other areas. We already have a lot of support, hopefully coming from the Lagos State Council for Arts and Tourism. The commissioner was here and she was so impressed and has offered help. And this is a government establishment, so I don't think I would say we've had negative issues so far, although we've had challenges. I must emphasize that we are a work in progress. This is the start of a start, because we've had just a little over 2 years working on this, and anyone that knows about research knows that it's not enough time to gather anything. But we've done what we can so far, and currently our collection is about a little over 2,000 pieces. So what you see in the display is less than half or less than a quarter of what the collection actually holds. But the display actually holds works from our past, older works from our beginning, which I mean the school in itself. When I say the school, I mean Yaba College of Technology, has its own history starting all the way from 1933. Contrary to popular opinion of 1948. But then the School of Art in itself, its beginning started in 1952, and which means in 2 years' time, it's 70, making us the very oldest one around.
they are Nigerians. And problems, challenges that are peculiar to us, we know them, right? So, and also, once you know your challenges, your problems, certainly it's half solved, because it's to know how to go about it. And with that, I think as an art school, we know what we need, we know what we can do to preserve this. And certainly the need for us to also, take the right step in assessing this, in doing this. All these have been, have been planned out, and we're working on it. So we know that we have a job to do here, and first is the care for the artworks, because they must be maintained at a particular temperature, right? First, the museum, this particular space, we know what we went through to be able to, secure it. Regarding some of the elements that we battle with to be able to, have it the way it is today. And we are not resting on our hours. We know that there's still a lot of things to put in place to be able to, keep it going. Because, like you rightly observe, yes, in Nigeria, we know that down to except air that is free to us, every other thing, you just have to fight for it. So as an institution, as a museum, certainly all these are being worked out so that, we don't just have, it do not seems as if we are just a flash in the pan. No, continuity, maintenance is very, very key, and we are seriously working at that, and I want to believe that very soon we're still going to invite you. We discover that because every now and then we want to keep on, improving on what we have. We don't have all yet, right? Because yes, we have this space. No, it's just about this space. There are lots that we still need to do regarding the work, because it's not just about this space, but about the content, right? So, which is very important. And you're talking about the content, you're talking about the preservation. These are the things. If we've been doing it for other, around the world, why can't we do it for ourselves here? So we are aware of these challenges, and headlong we're battling it.
How many museums do we have in Lagos? We have just the National Museum. And coming to have Yaba Art Museum, is something else. You see, we have a lot of, this art museum now is like a tourism. Because some people will be coming in now, they'll be asking, where can I get museum? Where is the museum? But now, the National Theatre, they don't have anything again there. But having this one now at the Art Museum within, you see, it's in this center of Lagos. So it's something that is very, very nice. And because a lot of people, when we opened this place last month, in fact, people have been praising the college for this upbringing, and it's very, very good, because most of the people will be benefiting. You see, most of the works we are seeing here are products of our ex-students, and most of the products you are seeing here, we are the supervisors. Like you see the work I'm sitting behind is my work. This work you are seeing behind me is dedicated to the African children, and again dedicated to the children that died during the bomb blast, Ikeja bomb blast. That's why I said I prefer to sit down where this work is, because it's for a purpose.
We're hoping to have so many events that are worked into the programs of the museum. Educational events, social events, screenings, excursions. We're hoping to be able to host researchers and different host curators. So it's supposed to become very active in the years coming, at least while I'm working on it. It's hoped that it will become very active during that period.